Hello, everybody. It's me, Carmine DeStefano, the Bookman. I've been thinking about doing this for a while, and really the reason behind it is because, well, I'm the bookman and stories should be my thing. And not only that, but I figured with all the talk of the history of video games going on in the internet and here on YouTube, it would probably be good for youngins to get an idea of what it was like from a first-person perspective, just to get an idea of perspective itself on the whole video game industry. Now, I just want you all to know that I don't try to insult any of you, but you have to realize that when I was a kid, playing video games made you a loser. That's just the way it was. We were outside playing tag, playing sports and stuff like that. You didn't lock yourself in your house all day playing video games. And the industry itself hadn't evolved to the point where it is now. You didn't really, when I was young, have commercials with video games in them. People didn't even really know what video games were. Parents didn't know what to make of them. Wasn't around when they were kids. They had pinball machines and shit. So really the first console that I can remember my sisters, my mother, and I having in the house, as early as I can remember, basically was probably an Odyssey. I didn't even know what it was called until I saw the Angry Video Game Nerd do a review of it, but I do remember using those thumper things and playing Pong back on my little rabbit-eared television. It was about this big. You had to put it on channel 3, which would give you nothing but snow until you hooked it up the correct way with all the different adapters and what have you that we had back then. But really the first video game experience that I had where I felt as though I was in some kind of cartoonish world as a child, which was something I really wanted to get into, a nice escape, was the arcade. The arcade was the first ever real experience, and there was one in my neighborhood, a little ways down from my house, that had stuff like Donkey Kong and Popeye and Kung Fu, and even Dragon's Lair, which was a cartoon you played. And there were, of course, certain other games like skee-ball or air hockey or what have you, but pretty much the arcade was where you could play things like Asteroids and Space Invaders, video game, and all these other coin-operated machines that I really got into. But as a child, the only person in my family that could afford a console was my older cousins, since they were richer, and they had a Commodore 64. And that introduced me to games like Lenny Lightfoot and Popeye, where Bluto's head falls off when you punch him somehow and he comes back to life. And of course, one of my personal warp experiences as a child was when my younger cousin and I were up there looking for a new game to play, and we found something on the Commodore 64 called Pied Piper of Hamelin, which was this little red character, jerk it off! And we didn't even know what the fuck it was. It was just this little guy playing with himself, and it said, look how long it takes him to get hard or some shit. We were going, where's the game? And I've never forget when we told my older cousin that we found it. He was like, oh, you found that? And his sister, my other cousin, screaming at him about it. But yeah, the Commodore 64 was a big deal. Comma 2, comma 1. Was that how it ended? I forgot what the commands were. But we didn't get a good console till the original console wars, Activision and ColecoVision, which weren't really any console wars at all. They were just shitty consoles, period. And this was around the early 80s, early mid-80s, where we had a ColecoVision and my father had an Activision. So whenever we went to his house, we'd play a couple of games like Tron, and he was really good at the game Carnival. And my sisters and I would play games like Ladybug, which my oldest sister was really good in, Cabbage Patch Kids and Smurfs, which my older sister and I were good in. My mother was great with Q*bert, and I guess a knockoff copy of some other games or what have you. But it wasn't until 1985 when it was my first communion, and TV started showing us this thing called Nintendo Entertainment System. Little box, plastic box. You put games in like this. And you could play games like Super Mario Brothers, or Mario Brothers, or Donkey Kong Jr., or Donkey Kong 3, in your home console. You didn't have to wait in line when there really weren't any lines, but we didn't have to wait to actually be able to go to the arcade, which we never really did, even though we were going to Roy Rogers, which was right next door. And the concept of being able to play a video game at home that was that advanced was holy shit. So my first communion, I got enough money. Mother and I walked over to Newmark and Lewis, which I was assured was the brother of Huey Lewis in the News. And I got myself the original Nintendo with Gyromite, Duck Hunt, the Zapper, and of course the Rob Robot, which my sister and I didn't really use. We sort of had one person play as the doctor and the other person play as the gatekeeper, and we kept squishing each other and keeping each other locked in rooms or areas where there were bombs going off and stuff. You know, we made our lives miserable. And Duck Hunt, of course, with the Zapper and everything like that. And then the summer of that year, not that many months later, we got Super Mario Brothers. But the games that I would never forget. I remember Christmas of 1987, I believe, when I got Metroid. My birthday of 1988, I think, or 87, when I got Zelda. These were the games that really stood out. Zelda, you can save on a cartridge. You don't have those passwords, which are just basically keys, random generated keys that sort of pit you in specific spots, whether or not that's where you are when you stopped or died. This was actually a save feature on the cartridge. Could you imagine that? Gold cartridge. Spectacular. Now, of course, the console itself wasn't built with a tremendous amount of mechanics because the thing never worked. Like, games hardly ever worked. It was like the Atari that my cousin had, which never worked. You would have the controller didn't work. You had Raiders of the Lost Ark, it blew up after the first 3 seconds. You played Empire Strikes Back, you crashed without being able to do anything about it. It was sort of like that, where the games would give you all these weird glitches and shit and crash before they even started or didn't connect or whatever, so you'd have to clean them and everything. But when you were able to experience the games, they were really amazing. Far more than I could ever have experienced in the arcades. My own personal games. And at first we played in the living room, and then my sister in her room had a little TV that we would play there, so everyone, if they wanted to watch TV, didn't have to sit there and watch me play a video game. And Zelda was the one that kind of brought the family together. Until Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which I got for my birthday in 1988. It was my 10th birthday or 11th birthday, 1989, one of those. Or even 9th birthday, who the fuck knows. But Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was the first one that everybody was kind of like watching me play and seeing if I could get past King Hippo. King Hippo kept kicking my ass, because I know you had to punch him in the mouth when he did that thing. So that was a tremendous experience as a child. And really that was the whole idea, was that you got a game, you went home, you played it when you were done with your homework or on the weekends when you had nothing better to do, between playing tag or playing baseball or whatever. A nice bit of clean, wholesome enjoyment with your family for about 2 to 3 hours, maybe, depending on how into it you were. And that was until consoles started coming out every other year. But one in particular was TurboGrafx 16. Not because anyone bought it, because I don't know anyone that had a TurboGrafx 16. That's another thing too. Back then, not everybody had a video game console. Some kids didn't even know what the hell they were. The running gag was that I had all the games, that I had most of the games, because I would just get games for good report cards, birthdays, Christmas, whatever. Any celebration, I was getting a video game. And I didn't give a fuck if it was even any good. Because I had the Nintendo newsletter or whatever that would give me kind of a little bit, they were like this big, a couple of pages, and give you a little bit of a comic of Zelda, whatever, and then some idea of what games were coming out every now and then. But I had no idea what the hell Dragon Ball was. So when I got Dragon Power, I just thought, hey, Dragon Power. Didn't know it was the same thing. It was based off Dragon Ball. And it sucked ass. Ninja Kid I got for Christmas. No idea. It sucked ass. Gradius was okay. I got that for Christmas. But Fist of the North Star was shit. But I had money and there was a game. And we didn't really get games back then. There wasn't a GameStop or even a Funko-Land or a buy and sell, whatever. You didn't sell games. You just kept them collecting dust in your house. And sometimes video games, especially when it was the ColecoVision era, with things like Dr. Pepper and stuff like that, sometimes getting a game was kind of like getting counterfeit drugs or something in the back alley. It was almost, you would go to these second-rate electronic stores or thrift shops, and they would have one of them sitting in the main display area, and you'd say, oh, I'll get that. You didn't even know what it was. You didn't have a booth where you could play or whatever. You just saw it and looked good, and I'll get that. you came home, you realized it sucked, well, you're screwed because you can't bring it back, you can't trade it in, you just wasted about $20. So there were other consoles like I was saying, and I did get an Atari 2600 when it was like the $50 or something like that. I did get a couple of games on that like Kangaroo, which I used to enjoy in the arcade. It was trash, it was Atari. But TurboGrafx 16, Sega Genesis, these consoles were starting to come out. And the reason why I brought up those consoles is because although Sega Genesis sort of sold, like the Sega Master System, I had one friend that had that. We played a football game. That was about it. But although the Sega Master System sold, not really. Although the Sega Genesis, I meant, sold, and was making some headway with the whole Nintendo bullshit, since I was a Nintendo guy, I was a Nintendo geek. And I used to argue with everybody about the games that Sega didn't have, and about how the graphics weren't that great. And I would get so fucking pissed off when they had a commercial about Sega Genesis making fun of Nintendo, whatever. And I thought I had gotten my last laugh in back in 1992 when I got myself a Super Nintendo. And that, my friends, will be a story for the next generation of consoles. Well, this was an introduction. We'll see how you all react to it. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought and what your gaming experiences were from the beginning of your first ever gaming experience to this particular period of your time. I've got a lot more to go, so I will see you when I have that much more to tell you about the 16-bit era from my perspective. Thank you all for watching. I have more views to come, so stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.